Hey everyone, this is Seth from the Horror Syndicate, and I am here tonight to do a ranking of the 8 films in the Howling franchise. So, this time last year, I did a written article on the HorrorSyndicate.com, which you can just, go to Google, type in the Howling franchise ranking and reviews, and you should see that pop up. But I don't want this video to be just a live video of me reading through my written article. I want it to be a little bit different. And so I'm not going to go into some detail. I'm not going to summarize the movies or anything. There's a brief little interesting little set of facts about the franchise that I just kind of want to start with, and then I'm going to go into the rankings, and I'm going to just give my brief thoughts and just move down the list. If I remember, I'll try to put the link for my article in the description if anyone's interested in reading. I go just a little bit deeper, just basically by summarizing the stories a little bit more, which I'm not going to do in this video. So, with that, I just want to say that the Howling franchise is definitely not a top tier horror franchise. Not even close. Some could say that they're rough. And I perfectly understand, but for some odd reason, I actually love this franchise. And I recognize that they're very, very, very flawed. And that they could be considered by some people to be guilty pleasures. I don't exactly follow that term because I'm not actually ashamed to say that I like this franchise. I just don't give a fuck, I'm one person who likes the franchise. You could find 1,700 more who hate it. If you're looking for someone to agree with you. So, yeah, I enjoy this franchise. I understand where it's where they're poor quality, where the franchise is not really consistent in terms of the werewolf designs, in terms of mythology, and all that. All these films are connected by name only, for the most part. But I do enjoy them. And so the interesting thing about this franchise is that there are 3 novels from Gary Brandner. There's the Howling II, and the Howling III. And then there's 8 films in the franchise. Of those 8 films, only 2 of them are actually based on the books. Of those 2, they're both based on the same book. For some odd reason, the Howling II and the Howling III were never adapted, ever, and they weren't considered for motion picture sequels, which is strange because they are very strong. In fact, I would argue that each book continuously got better. And I do kind of understand why they didn't do an adaptation of Part 2 to a certain extent, because the Part 2 novel is a direct continuation, and with the first movie they changed a lot. And one of the many things that they changed was the ending. And I'll probably do a separate video going through the differences between the novel and the movie. I think that'd be kind of fun to do. There are quite a bit of differences. There's quite a bit of similarities. But the Howling II and the Howling III were just, I don't know, they were, for some reason, weren't considered, and they did all these other movies and these other stories that really strayed. I don't know if it could have been budget issues, I guess, but it's interesting for sure, at least to me. At number 8 is the 7th film, the Howling New Moon Line Dancing. The Howling New Moon Rising. I'm sorry, I got confused there for a minute. To say that this is the worst Howling movie is kind of an understatement. It's the only one that is was only available on VHS. It was never put to DVD at all, not even a Blu-ray. I'm hoping at some point Screen Factory releases the rest. They did 1, 2, and 3, but they haven't done 4 through 8. But yeah, this movie it's not very good. I had to watch it on YouTube. It was in sections. There's a whole shitload of line dancing in the movie for no fucking reason. The werewolf transformation is hideous, to put it mildly, and it's just not a good movie. One of the things I do like about it, however, is the fact that there was an effort put in to try to connect a lot of the sequels together, and I thought that was pretty neat. And I felt like Clive Turner he seemed like a likable guy. So, but that's about it. That's all the good that I could find in that movie. And so it's definitely the worst one. I've only seen it the once, and I got through it with a lot of beer. I don't know if I could have made it through that movie without it. So, yeah, that says it all right there. Coming in at number 7 is the 8th movie, the Howling Reborn. I do have to say that out of all the sequels, this one does have the best production value, by far. And even though the werewolves don't look the greatest, it's probably the best werewolves since part 1. Nowhere near as good as the werewolves in part 1, but way better than any of the werewolves in any of the sequels. The movie came out, I forget the year, but it's you can tell it's kind of like whoever had the rights for this franchise wanted to jump in on the popularity of like Twilight franchise. So it does have that young adult kind of flavor to it, like Twilight, or even, like the book Blood and Chocolate. The movie was shit, but the book actually wasn't all that bad, I suppose. So that's what kind of turned me off from this movie. I just couldn't get in. I just couldn't get into it. It's got that teen drama thing going on, and it doesn't really interest me. It never has. And everything that they do is it's like, okay, it's already been done. I've seen this a million times. Overall, not bad. I do watch it when I do my kind of marathon of this franchise, which I do quite a bit, or I used to. I haven't watched any of them in a long time, to be honest with you. But that's where that's at. Coming in at number 6 is the Howling III, the Marsupials. Words can't describe this movie. It's fucking insane. I bought it blind many, many years ago. I watched it. I couldn't believe what I watched. Jesus Christ. I can't describe that movie at all. There's a lot of good concepts in it, a lot of interest in, I think, a lot of interest in building of certain characters and their relationships to a certain extent, but some of the acting was terrible, the effects were terrible, the designs just so goofy. But I did rewatch this for the first time a couple years ago. Well, not the first time, but for the first time in a long time, a couple years ago. Doing what I sometimes call soul torture Saturdays, where I'll drink beer and watch really bad movies, just to remind myself how bad they are and to appreciate the good movies out there. And I wanted to give this one another try, and I didn't hate it as much as I did the first time I saw it. It's just insane. It's goofy. It's kind of hard to get through, but I can see where it can be fun. I know quite a few people who actually do like this one. This is one of their favorite sequels. I don't agree with that, but it's kind of cool that that there's people who get good enjoyment out of it, get some entertainment out of it. That's always a good thing. So at number 5 is the Howling IV, the Original Nightmare. Now, this is the other movie that is based on the first book by Gary Brandner. And this one is actually much more faithful to that book, although it's still a loose adaptation. It's a lot closer to the book than the first movie was, which is the main reason why I like it, which is the main reason why it is ranked so high on this list, because I think by default it probably should be, oh fuck, nothing's even better. That's crazy. Yeah, no, it's fine where it's at, I guess. It could be considered boring and slow, and the quality of it, of the filmmaking and of the acting, is not very good. But I love the fact that it's the closest to the first book, and it's kind of interesting to see that. So anytime I reread the book, I kind of go to that one first over the first one. Only because I just want that comparison to what was closest to what I just read. Obviously the first one is superior. But so I like that about it. And then there's a really good visual effect towards the end. And it's just really good. But other than that, the movie is kind of slow, boring, and really cheesy. And I could see where people don't like this one. But I gotta say, I can't see where this is worse than any of the previous 3 I listed. So, coming in at number 4 is the Howling VI, The Freaks. I fucking dig this one. This one's really cool. There are some cheesy moments, low production value, weird choices in music. I'm sure they had to work with what they had to work with. But there's a lot of cool stuff about this movie too. The makeup effects, especially with the character of Harker, the vampire, and of Winston, the alligator boy. Those are really good. The werewolf design itself, I don't really care for it. They were trying to go for more of the Wolfman type look as opposed to the werewolves of the Howling, which is a weird choice, but probably driven by budget purposes. So it's kind of a fun movie too. There's some some cool visuals in it. Some of the characters are likable. I really like the character of Winston, the alligator boy. He was a good character. I liked the villain, Harker. He was an interesting villain. To a certain extent, I'm not. I'm not saying interesting like these are award-winning characters and performances. Nothing like that. But it was interesting for this franchise because part of the thing that I really liked about this movie is the fact that it opened up the scope of the world that the Howling exists in by showing us vampires exist in this world, and we see an example of what one can be like, and we see all these other different freaks and oddities, and the whole like circus sideshow thing was kind of a neat thing to see. So at this point, going forward, these are movies in the franchise that I just highly enjoy. Coming in at number 3 is The Howling II, Your Sister is a Werewolf. Also known as The Howling II, Sturba, Werewolf Bitch. You pick. So, this is technically the only sequel that is a direct continuation. And I say I'm a little hesitant on that because of what they tried to do in part 7, which is the Howling New Moon line dancing, I believe it's called. And I like that it's a direct continuation, but it didn't go in the direction I was expecting. After I watched the Howling movie, they set up with Marsha still being alive. There's, it'd be interesting to find out what happened to Chris after he shot Karen live on TV. But instead, they just go in a little bit of a different direction, and it involves Karen's brother and a paranormal investigator played by Christopher Lee. And the script was co-written by Gary Brenner himself, who was very critical of the first movie because it was different from his book. So if you think, okay, it's co-written by the guy that did the novels, and it's got Christopher Lee in it, it's gonna be fucking great, right? Not so much, but it is still pretty fun. It's I love the soundtrack. I'm not gonna lie. That song by Babel is catchy as fuck. But I enjoy the movie. I get a kick out of it. It's fun. I thought Sybil Dannon was actually her character of Sturba was kind of a interesting villain. It's definitely played out differently than the first movie in every way possible. But I enjoy it for those reasons. Coming at number 2 is my favorite sequel. This is not the best The Howling movie, but it is my favorite of the sequels. And that is the Howling V Rebirth. So, what's there not to fucking love about this movie, man? There is the story is structured differently than any of the other ones. This is purely a whodunit murder mystery set in a castle, and it's just such a fun sequel, and it's so different from any of the other ones. I love the score, first and foremost. I know it's kind of goofy at times, heavy-handed a little. I can see where people don't like the score, but for some reason I just really enjoy it. I do feel like we should have seen more of the werewolf. It's kind of a shame. It's one of the negatives about the movie is that we didn't see the werewolf very much. But it did keep with the style of the movie, which is, keeping things a mystery and not knowing. So it's really cool. I love the setting. I love the castle setting. It's great. Like I said, the score, as far as the acting goes, I've seen worse. A couple of the people in this were actually not bad at all. Better than they probably should have been. And then there's other people in this movie who are not very good. But it's the Howling V, so if you don't expect some flaws by this point, you're just not watching these right. But it's a great movie, in my opinion. Great sequel. Coming in at number 1. This is probably the most fucking obvious answer. You already knew this when you clicked on this video. Do not lie to yourself. The Howling. It's one of the greatest werewolf movies of all time. And while I am more of an American Werewolf in London type of guy, there's no denying how great The Howling is. Rob Bottin's effects, the creature design, the score, the cinematography even. The acting, Dee Wallace is fantastic. It's just such a good movie, and I don't know what can be said about it that hasn't already been said 100 times, but it is clearly the best in the franchise. No contest. They have yet to even come close to the quality of that movie. And while I do appreciate a movie like The Howling IV, the original Nightmare, going back to the book and being more faithful to the book, there are problems with that movie where I kind of understand why they made the changes that they made for the first movie. Do I think that they could do a close adaptation of the first book and make it really good? Yeah, it depends. It depends on who's going to do it. The director of it, Andy Muschietti, I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name. He's attached to do like a Netflix remake or something like that. It'll be interesting to see if he goes back to the first book, if it'll be the third adaptation of that book, and just to see if he could make it work. But from watching The Howling IV, I kind of understand why certain things of that first book probably wouldn't work for a theatrical experience, or even as a TV movie, for pacing issues, or for pacing purposes. So, I respect the hell out of The Howling, the first movie, and I enjoyed the book and the movie, and I enjoy them for their differences. But it's easy to say that The Howling is one of the best werewolf movies ever made. Period. So, those are my thoughts. Those are my rankings of the Howling franchise. What do you guys think? Does anyone else like these movies, or am I one of 5? I don't know. Let me know, and let me know how you would rank them. I do have to state, even though it should be stated, that these are my opinions and my opinions only. They are not the opinions of the team of the Horror Syndicate. And I'm not saying I'm right. There may be some of you out there who will disagree with my ranking or even some of my opinions, and that's perfectly fine. Disagree, let me know. Let's have a cool conversation about it. Let me know how you would rank them. But it's the Howling franchise, so I don't think there's going to be many people to disagree as much or give me as much shit. I mean, imagine if I ranked the Halloween franchise. Oh man, So anyway, those are my thoughts. And if you like this, hit the fucking thumbs up button. Subscribe, share, consume, reproduce, obey, and put gasoline in your car. So, until next time, I'm Seth. Have a good night.